Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Mindhunter Season 1, Episode 4. It's called Episode 4. Yes, I said it again, Connor. Calm down. It's fine.
I wasn't going to mention it. I was going to leave it another few and then say every time since.
Well, tough. I'm calling you out on it. So, full spoilers for the episode as always, and this was so we got a new killer in this one, as in well in two ways, in more than one way. We got a new killer that we're interviewing in a prison, and we also got a new sort of case to sort of deal with. That was kind of the
Yes.
back half of the episode, and some more personal stuff, and some more sort of kind of more of what we've been doing. Just like everything kind of moved forward, we got new elements to it.
And in some aspects, this episode suffers for it. In the sense that I don't feel like this one has as much of a focus as the other episodes where, most of the other episodes go, that episode is this thing, that's what it's about. This
Hmm.
one's a bit more, okay, it's doing a few different things, it's advancing plots all over, but it's nothing in particular like it's this.
To a point, I feel like I came out of this one. I don't know. I don't know if it's any more so than last episode. I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay. I think last episode felt like it was more focused on the case, though. Like that was a big drive, whereas this one, it was just a more of a
Hmm.
side aspect.
Okay. Oh, I can see them going back to the case though. Kind of like how they went back
Yeah,
to that one
yeah,
before as
yeah.
well. Depending. Although we can't just have them solve all of them. I feel like that's too.
Too easy.
It's too easy. Yeah, it'd feel too kind of. Almost like a drawn out procedural if we take 2 or 3 episodes per case, but they always solve them easily. But
Yeah, I'd like them to think they've solved one, but then it turns out they got the
mm,
wrong person, and the killer strikes again.
yeah, that could be cool. Yeah. I can see that happening. So we start again with this alarm salesman slash repairman, and he walks into this house and he's like just sort of like creepily eyeing it up. But then he sort of walks into the kitchen and the woman who lives there is like he's kind of half expecting him. So, oh, I didn't realize you were still here. So have you got estimates? So he's kind of meant to be there. As much he's been
Yeah.
a bit creepy, but he's meant to be there. And she kind of just like asks, oh, my husband was wondering, can we just buy the sign rather than pay for pay for the alarm service? Can we just buy a poster off you to stick on the wall
Yeah.
to make people think there's an alarm? And that's just kind of like, and he's just obviously kind of like vacant about the way he answers, and is kind of like, no,
I mean,
sorry.
he kind of says, like the signs are free, like so. The implication to me was almost like, sure, and then he'll know they're not alarmed.
Oh, I didn't really take it. No, I didn't think it was like a motive there. I just sort of took it as he was going by the book. No, they come with the alarm.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's what he
I
says.
mean, they do, but I mean, it was more to me like, does he just not install one of them correctly at some point? Once he's chosen his victim, they'll turn
Oh
on the
yeah.
alarm thinking they've turned the
Oh,
alarm.
absolutely. I imagine so. I imagine if he's staking this place out, if this woman's going to be his victim, he's probably going to rig the alarm so that, or at the
Right,
very
right.
least, since he installed it, he can probably turn it off. I imagine.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Maybe if he did just give them the sticker so it would look like they have an alarm, but he'd know really that they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. But then again, that maybe leaves a trail. Maybe he would be better off actually installing it and
And then just saying it was faulty or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Honestly, the best way to cover his tracks would probably be to actually install it properly. But just, I assume he would have a way of like turning it off, deactivating it,
Yeah. Master code, maybe.
master code, or even just as simple as he knows how they work, so he can just open it up and
Yeah.
give it a tinker, so that it doesn't do anything, suspicious or whatever. Because I feel like if they get the posters and then the police are investigating the crime later, they go, well, where did you get the posters? Why isn't there an actual alarm? Because they're not
Mm.
supposed to do that, and then it.
No, that's true. It's
Oh,
just to me, like alarms, they make noise immediately. Like
mm,
they don't go off fully, but as soon as you open that door, they will start making a noise enough to wake someone up.
oh sure. But can he turn it off from like somewhere else? Can he do it down the street? Like the
Ah, okay, that you mean. Okay, I
yeah.
get you. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I assume he does all the installation and stuff. He's got the van, he's doing the whole thing, so
I'm
it
with
makes
you.
sense. Um, I guess we'll find out. The one thing I did like about this scene, though, that I like to point out, there's a really creepy shot at one point. Is he's walking past like the kid's bedroom, and there's a toy car, there's like a little toy cop car, and
Yeah.
it's the car's in focus, and he's just out of focus looking at it in the background, and it's a really creepy shot. So, no, just a nicely directed moment.
Definitely. That stood out to me as well.
Especially since I was like, oh, is this the scene where he finally does something? Like, like, is this the one where he
This felt
strikes?
like he's stalking his prey. He's
Yeah,
ready.
Yeah, which is why the sort of the misdirect where it's, oh no, you're supposed to be here, kind of.
Yeah.
But again, it's giving us more information. Like, okay, we see how he maybe, does his job. How he,
It's how he's staking out his targets.
yeah, it's not even just that. It's kind of laying a trap almost now, because
Yeah,
he's involved
he's
in this.
learning the layout of the houses. Just by he's in there, for reasons, and he's taking a wander around, maybe where he doesn't need to, and it's like, okay, so he knows where the escape routes are, etc.
Yeah. So to get into the main plot of the episode, so we have this new killer, Monty Rizzle, and they go and visit him, and he is immediately very different from Ed. He like his demeanor's different. He doesn't carry himself in a sort of dignified manner. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't sound like a complete moron by any means, but he's not like this intellectual type of character. Yeah. He seems a bit more aggressive. Again, not overly so, but just in that way, he's like, oh, you want to question me? Well, listen it from me. Get me my soda that I like, my red, whatever it was. So you get that kind of sense from him, and they're trying to talk to him, and he kind of opens up a little bit, and obviously he describes the crime, and he describes what he did, and how it was more accidental. How he was already a delinquent. He was already doing stuff. He was stealing. He'd already raped people when he was a teenager. He went away for a while. He came back, and he kind of got his life. He got a girlfriend. He kind of had a job, but his girlfriend ended up dumping him when she went to college because she wanted other guys, and that set him into a rage. And he ended up attacking someone that night. Not even he didn't plan it. He just did it, and it came in. So obviously they talk about this as well in the episode later, but that's very different from Ed. Ed was very methodical. He planned things. He took them back and operated on them
Tested
afterwards.
the waters.
Yeah. Whereas this was like a almost passionate thing that happened, and then afterwards it was like, oh, okay, back in the real world again. Off I walk, kind of idea. So, but they noticed this. But I think the big thing with this first scene with him is that he ends up shutting up. He refuses to keep talking because Bill kind of pushes his buttons. Bill doesn't accept some of his answers a little bit.
Yeah, he calls him out on some bullshit.
Because at one point he says he let one of them go. He's like, oh, I guess it was an act of mercy. And he's like, an act of mercy? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
you're a rapist and serial killer. No. Not that it says that, because we don't have the term serial killer yet. Which, by the way, I want to point out, we were talking in the last review about how, maybe they'll come up with that term at some point. And they actually, not with that, but they do that a couple of times in this episode where they actually change the word they're using. So, no, we won't call it that, we'll call it this.
Yeah.
Because later on they're talking about organised and disorganised in terms of when they're comparing the killers, and like, okay, so Ed's an organised killer. He plans things, he thinks them out, he disposes of them sort of properly and methodically afterwards. Whereas Russell or Monty, he doesn't. He's a moment of passion. It's unplanned. It's just this rage, and then he kind of goes back to normal, and they're very different. And even the thought process of why do we, because she was going to call it systematic and anti-systematic. Why not that? And the argument is, well, because even a beat cop will understand just as soon as he hears it what you mean. Like, it can't be too complex. It can't sound like it's a psychological essay just in terminology.
Yeah. Which is why I think, do they change sequence to serial just because it's easier to say for some reason? Do they go, oh, it rolls off the tongue better?
Yeah, it could, but that's something.
Because obviously, from her perspective, she's looking at this academically in writing, and you want something catchy because you want people to look at it.
Yeah.
So it could be as simple as that.
You want people to understand that you want something the newspapers can print and make people aware of what's going on. And we all know what serial killer means, so clearly it worked.
Yeah. I'm starting to suspect it might be a last episode of the season sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, just think of that big podcast that was huge last year, the Serial, or 2 years ago, whenever it was.
Yeah,
I lose track of time. But, just the word serial, you assume it's a killer. You don't need the word, you don't need the murderer killer after it. You just assume the word serial is related to killer now.
No, that's true, you do.
That's the first thing that pops into your head. So yeah, but this shakes Bill, and I think a big part of this episode is Bill not being kind of in his right mindset, because they're driving off afterwards, and Holden's kind of try to talk to him about losing his shit in there, and kind of ruining the interview, and
he talks about how we know some of it's bullshit, but that doesn't matter. We can get what we need still.
Yeah, we have to filter through it and take what's actually applicable.
Yeah,
and out of nowhere they get hit by another car. And that's one of these things where there was no hint that there could be a car accident in the show or the scene or anything. Like, because sometimes you're watching something and it feels like, oh, maybe there could be an accident in a minute, like.
No,
And
this is just no driving along conversation like we've seen a good handful of times in the show already,
yeah, yeah,
and then bang.
bang out of nowhere, and I was like, man, what's going on? Like, why is that? Are they being attacked? Is this a targeted thing? Like, why is someone targeting them? It doesn't make sense. And like Bill goes out and he's like, shouting at the guy, "You were speeding," and he's like, "Well, you came out of nowhere." He's like, "Well, but you were speeding. This was like, I had the right of way, blah blah blah." And they ended up arguing. And he's like, at one point he's like, "Oh, I'll call the cops." "Oh, you want to talk about the cops?" And he goes into his pocket, and the guy kind of gets scared, thinking he might pull out something else, and he pulls out a badge, and he's like, "Oh, but like he doesn't know how to react to it."
Yeah, but he's right. Yeah, I was speeding, but like he says, he had the right of way. Bill should have stopped and looked. Is the point?
Oh yeah, yeah, and he comes over and asks Holden a couple of times if he's okay, and again showing that they're kind of bonding a little bit. That he does it twice. He asks
It's the
right
first
away.
thing he does. Yeah.
First thing he does, then he goes out and has the argument, and then he comes back at the end of the scene and asks again, and then we cut ahead to like, the emergency
I thought
services.
it was really telling that Holden never asked him at that point. Like you can. I think that's the the fatherly aspects of Bill coming out, like immediately looking after people.
Yeah, and it works in the logic of the scene as well because, like, to an extent, I mean, obviously, emotionally, you might ask him if he's okay. Like, you would anyway, but right away, though, he's the one who's out the car and he's, like, shouting. He's clearly fine physically.
He looks fine, yeah.
He's clearly fine physically, so it makes sense in the scene as well. But yeah, like, there's a subtext there of him being a bit more fatherly, him being older, him being a bit more experienced. And he actually is a father as well, which is something that we learn. We knew he had a son in the last episode, but we learn a lot more about it in this one because they go for some food after this. And there's two things in this scene. The first one, a bit smaller, but it's there, is that, Holden's a little bit miffed that Debbie, like, yeah, she'll come and pick them up because they're in driving distance, they didn't fly here. So he's asked her to come and pick them up. And she's willing to do it, but she's got a thing to study for tonight. She's got a test. So she'll do it in the morning. So get a hotel room. And he's a little bit miffed that maybe she wouldn't drop everything. Like, he's not that important.
I think it was like she says she would if they really needed her to. But if it's fine, if they can wait, she'd prefer that.
Yeah. It's just, he's trying to read the situation. It's almost like he's still trying to do his job, where he's trying to read.
But I thought it was interesting that there was that there though, because it wasn't just a straight up no, I'll do it in the morning. It was, if it's desperate, then all right, fine, I'll drop everything. But if you can wait, then okay, you're not that important.
Yeah, which almost sounds worse because if it's that serious, you can't do it till morning. Then you kind of just, okay, it's that serious, you can't do it till morning. You can't drop this no matter what it is.
Yeah, but this is, I could if you really need to.
But I'd rather not. Yeah, it would almost be better if it was just like, no, I actually can. Like, seriously, this is important tonight.
Yeah.
That would make you feel less shit because, no, it actually is important. I have to wait. That's fine. There's no choice in the matter. But because there is a choice, and she'd rather not make the choice, it's worse.
It's worse.
But the other thing, of course, in the scene is that he's asking Bill. This is where Bill kind of like, are you sure you're all right? He has a second drink with his dinner, and I'm like, oh man, I've got steak in their place. Eat the steak. All this heart to heart nonsense.
Hungry.
Get to the steak. Yeah, I was hungry at the time. I went and made some food after I watched this.
I'm doing it after we finish talking about this. So come on, chop chop.
So he gets to talking, and Bill feels ashamed. And he basically gets to the point of why he's ashamed is because he didn't look. He should have seen it coming. He should have, like, we go out, we're on the job, we may be in dangerous situations. We have to, like, watch. We're sitting with these assholes, these murderers in a room. Like, not necessarily they might attack, but just the idea that with their words they might, manipulate. They might. He has to be on the lookout. And also,
they are still field agents in some respect because they are out and about. And should it come to it, one of these could pull a gun. Not the ones that they're interviewing in the prisons, but the other ones, these cases that they kind of unofficially help on.
I'd like to think otherwise that prison's doing a really shoddy job of the.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, but.
I mean, yeah, a shiv I'll accept because prisoners get their hands on those sort of things, but the idea of them smuggling in firearms is like.
Oh my god! Why do I suddenly want a scene of Ed pulling a gun on them?
Well, they have to hand their guns in.
No, I know. That's why I want Ed to just suddenly have a gun. He's gotten hold of one somehow.
Oh, he snuck one in, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got hold of some contraband, and he pulls out a pistol on him.
Is he just going to stand up and say, oh, wait a minute, I need to pull something out of my crack? Just 1 minute.
Yeah. I mean, it amuses me because Ed probably needs it least. He's a big guy.
Oh, sure, yeah. But yeah, so he's like, he's miffed about this, and but you can kind of see like, okay, so that these conversations are getting to him, and he's already spoken before about how it makes him sick to his stomach, all these guys, they're talking to them, but he sees the benefit in it. But we can see it's getting to him, like the idea that he's off his game, that this is making him think. And obviously, he gets to the point of to him, maybe why on a personal level, maybe it's hitting just a little bit more than it maybe would at some other people, because he talks about how we find out his son's adopted. They didn't have their kid. They couldn't have kids, so they adopted someone. They wanted a family, and his kid's a little bit weird. He's quiet, is the way he puts it, and he doesn't really talk or emote as much as other kids. At first, they thought it's okay, nothing wrong with being quiet, but he's still a little bit strange. It's been a few years, and he's a little bit off. And we see it later on. We see Holden comes to pick him up, and presumably Holden's own car, because it's this different blue car. And it's like they've been in this black car the entire show. That when he pulled up in this blue thing, I'm like, oh wow, colour. What? Calm down there. What is this? Yeah. A revolution? But it has this really awkward moment where the son won't hug him to say goodbye, and the wives try to sort of taunt him into it. It's this really sad kind of
and
scene.
Holden's really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be watching this.
It's a really somber kind of scene, and you get the idea, like, even though there's no reason to think, oh, this kid's going to grow up and be a serial killer, you get the idea that just like talking to these guys and them being weird, and so much of it, like for both of them, it's been about their parents abandoning them. Ed talked a lot about the way his mother treated him, and this is kind of the same thing, extended though, because it's like, oh, like everyone didn't want me. Like, I was a kid, my parents didn't want me. And I went to my job, the job didn't want me. Like I was just this forgotten thing.
And even the cases they've been dealing with, like the one from last episode, was all about his mother.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly he's doing a better job than these parents, but he worries that, am I not doing a good enough job? Am I failing as a parent? Am I failing as a father?
I think it's this is why he's golfing so much. It wasn't that he just didn't care. It's that he was kind of scared to actually have to put himself into this. It was an escape almost.
Yeah, I don't think consciously. I mean, in the sense that of related to his son.
No.
I don't think he was actively thinking, oh, if I go in there, it's going to make me think of my son. I think that's even now.
That's come about later.
Yeah, even now, I don't think he would consciously say that that's a connection. Like he kind of brings it up in that way, but I don't think he even.
No, I think he's starting to get that idea consciously, but he's not ready to say that.
Yeah. I don't think right now he would ever actually say, I'm worried that my son might grow up to be one of these weirdos. Like I don't think he's at that point. But you can see that's kind of partly why it's weighing on him, like hearing these guys talk about it. And Monty, like, again, it's all this idea of like he can take power by killing someone because he's the one in control. Like everyone keeps abandoning him, but the idea if he can take someone, rape and kill them, it's like he's the one that's powerful. And I actually really like Wendy brings up a point, because they go back to their office and Wendy comes and meets them to have these meetings and debates and whatnot, and they're analysing it, and again, it's about control. But one of the things that she said that I thought was really fascinating was the idea that, he finally takes control of something. He feels like he's not powerless, but the only witness to it is now dead because he's killed them. So that it doesn't last. Yeah. Eventually, it'll feel good for a while, but then eventually he has to do it again because the witness is dead. And I thought that's a really interesting idea. That, like, that was my cat's tail, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Past the camera.
It almost made me jump.
I was like, man, that actually looked pretty bad in the camera.
Whoa, what was that?
But like, just this idea, like, that's why it's a cycle, and maybe for a lot of them is because, well, the one person who got to see you at your most powerful, at your most dominant, they don't exist anymore. It's almost a double-edged sword, because to achieve it, you had to kill them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also in that scene, it's the whole idea that it's just everyday events that they just don't process properly. Not necessarily every day, but bad things. But things that happen throughout life that most people deal with and cope with in normal ways. Yeah. But for some reason, these people can't comprehend that.
Yeah, I forget what parts of the stories you told at each meeting. Again, that's the one thing I had that trouble with Ed as well, because they met him like multiple times, and I'm like, which time did he tell him what story?
Yeah.
But, obviously, the second time they give him the can of soda, and a little point he brought up that I really liked was that it's like, because he crushes the can. Now, he kind of does it at a moment when they kind of push a button, but he crushes the can and he goes, why do we always want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, I do that. Yeah. Why do I want to crush the can after I'm finished?
Honestly, I mean, Holden obviously says, it's because it makes us feel powerful, which plays into this whole thing here. And it's for that in particular. It was when he's getting his buttons pressed, he needed that moment of, no, I've got control over something, just to reassert himself.
Yeah,
But the reality is, it's just habit. I crush it out of habit.
yeah. The first time I did it, maybe that was to feel powerful. Like
I
I can.
don't know. First time you do it is curiosity. Second time is power.
Third time
50th time,
onwards.
it's just habit.
Honestly, I actually have a practical reason. I am a very lazy person, and sometimes I'll have multiple cans on my desk. Me crushing the can is just so that I don't accidentally drink an old one.
Yeah.
I know which one's the one that I'm currently drinking.
Also, you can get more in the recycling bin.
Sure, yeah, why not?
Look at that. I'm environmental and everything.
But out of laziness, to make sure I don't accidentally drink an old can that's still got some left in it, but it's been sitting there for like 4 days. I don't want to drink that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So you
And
have
let's
those
be honest,
crushed.
your reason's far more realistic than the one I just gave. 'Cause, mine was the bullshit. Yours was the real truth.
Yeah, I'm admitting a fault as I say it, but yeah, there's a practical reason for it, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. Yeah, and I like them like the brainstorming and talking about this, and because she going back to the reacting to this a normal thing. Like they bring up the sex because the first victim he ever had, like his plan wasn't even to kill her. He grabbed her to feel powerful, and he wanted to rape her to feel powerful. But it was actually her enjoying it that set him off and made him, either whether she was really enjoying it or pretending to make it get over quicker. Like you could read into why she's making pleasure noises. Like could be anything. He also mentioned she was a prostitute, so maybe she even thought she was getting paid. Like lots of factors like
Yeah.
that could have fed into that. But it was actually the positive response that for most people is what you want to hear in said situation that sets him off.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that power thing, though, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, no, if she's enjoying this, this isn't the power that I wanted. Power. I wanted to be in control. I wanted to dominate. Whereas here, it's like, oh, well, she's enjoying it. I'm doing what she wants, almost.
Or maybe even he senses that it was a lie, perhaps.
Could be that too. Yeah.
And that's also like a test of his power. It's like, oh, you're trying to fool me. I can't be fooled,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, and it's actually a nice little. Again, we talk about these little moments between Holden and Bill, but she says, "Oh, so how would you feel if you're having sex with a woman and she's not being satisfied?" And they just both look at each other like they don't want to like.
It's
No,
like,
that never happened
it's
to
like,
me.
Do we want to answer this? Do we really want to do this?
Oh, never. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't
I
know.
plead the fifth.
Yeah, but she's like, "Come on, be scientists." And it's like, "Oh, I'd feel awful." And so they get into it, but it's just like, okay, so that's obviously the opposite of the normal reaction, and that's why
Yeah.
he's and so no, that stuff's really really fascinating. So what we've not talked about, of course, is the new case. Because we actually, in between all this, they go to another one of their teaching things. We don't get to see the class again. We don't need to. We've seen it, but they come out to, and this is showing how much they've bonded and how much they know each other now. As they're sitting in the car, and it's like, "Hey, we've clocked one," and there's like a cop just across the street, just sort of, leaning against the wall, and it's like, "Yep, his eyeing is up. How long do you think it'll take him?" It's like, less than a minute. Is that a bet?
He goes. I'll put the over under on 30 seconds.
Yeah. So okay, you taking under? Okay, loser buys dinner. Okay, here he comes, and he comes over. And I like the idea that they almost expect every so often, if the town they go to has got a really nasty case, they'll come and ask for help.
Honestly, the only bit of this that disappointed me is after he walked. We didn't get a moment where after he walks away and like they acknowledge, or like they're buying dinner at some point.
Well,
and we see one of them paying.
I thought the bet was null and void because he was asking him to confirm the bet just as they started to walk, and I thought, what's the point of accepting the bet now? You can see, because Bill was going to lose. He knew he was going to lose at this point.
Yeah,
If he
but I
accepted
thought
the
it was
bet.
almost like no, the bet was already on. It was like, all right, dinner, fine.
Yeah.
Almost like that's the standing go-to.
I would have argued that it wasn't finalised, so the bet was not valid yet.
Yeah, but Bill's a man of honor, and he's like, I pay my debts. Sure,
I suppose
you won
he
this
does.
one. I'll buy dinner.
I suppose he does. So we find out about this case. This woman's body was found in a junkyard kind of thing, and she's mutilated. Like she's got bits missing, boobs are cut off, all the rest of it. And I love that the cop, as he's describing this and he's showing them the photos, he's like, "Oh, your breasts are, I guess you would say, amputated." Because the idea, because like you don't amputate breast, you don't think of breasts being amputated.
No.
You amputate legs and arms. But he's looking. It's like he doesn't want to just say cut off. He wants to sound smarter because he's talking to guys from the
Yeah,
FBI.
but he's really uncomfortable about the
Yeah,
whole thing. Like, when he has to go, she was cut from, and he really pauses before he says vagina, and
yeah.
he's just really not comfortable talking about this.
But he really wants to impress them, which is why it hurts a little bit when Holden starts grilling him about the procedure, about what have you done? Why are you not understanding this? Why have you not had people look at this? So,
Yeah, no.
uh,
The best moment is when they talk about the hair, and he goes, "Oh, well, when the lab confirms it," and Holmes like, "Really? Come on."
look, if they might come back later and tell us it's different here, and if in that case, yes, we'll go, okay, that's a new interesting fact. But until then, we'll work under the assumption that it's her hair, given that she's missing hair. It's a fair thing to assume, at least for now, until
Yeah.
they know
Starting
otherwise.
point.
Because it's afterwards that Bill kind of pulls him out. It's like, hey, people skills, like we have, make them feel like, he's never had a case like this. For us, it's starting to feel normal. For him, this is like the earth is
It's
broken.
really amusing to me how Holden's great at talking to the criminals, these serial killers in the prisons, and Bill compliments him on it last episode. Whereas here, the everyday cops, he just can't figure it out. He just hasn't got it down at all.
I think that's maybe it's maybe shown as why he's the person to be like studying these people, because in a sort of not that he's dangerous himself or that he's potentially a killer, just in the sense that in a sort of baseline way he just kind of communicates better with them.
Yeah, no, that's true. I guess it's also why they're a good partnership. I guess one can talk to one side of things and one can talk to the other.
Yeah, it's just the idea that he's just a bit bit of a weirdo. He doesn't think like regular people, and because of that, and that's not to say that everyone who thinks eccentrically turns out to be a killer. Of course not. Most of them don't. But the idea that those people are the ones who might be able to connect with these people a little bit better.
Well, yeah, and obviously the whole idea of him thinking differently is what's led to this entire thing.
Exactly. And even Wendy says that she kind of sympathizes with them, like how awful this must feel, like treating it as if they are kind of like mentally ill, and it's not just they're evil. It's not
Yeah.
like that's not to say that you can trust them. You can be too sympathetic, but just the idea she talks about this again, this cycle of need, but then you lose it because you've killed your witness. She says, yeah, sympathize with them. That's the only way I can do this job, is to kind of not just look at them as if they're evil monsters, but actually kind of understand why they are this way, that they are to an extent victims of their own disease.
Yeah, and I think that's why Holden communicates with him in some ways, because he kind of gets that on some level, even if he doesn't realize that's how it's working. He kind of gets that.
Yeah, he feels like an outsider. He feels like he doesn't communicate with other people the same way that everyone else does. Showing greatly when he has that dinner where he's with Debbie and he's invited Wendy. And it's quite funny at first because she keeps trying to guess who Wendy is as they come in. It's all these old women coming in. It's like she's not expecting someone.
You're waiting to see her reaction, aren't you? When it's this younger woman compared to all these ones she's guessing.
Yeah, I mean, Anna Torv obviously is older than they are, but not by any great.
No, she's like guessing like much older women.
Yeah, she's guessing people who are in their 70s walking in the door. Then Anna Torv, who's in her mid-30s or whatever, walks in. It's
it's
okay.
that kind of professor idea, isn't it? Like that's what she's like a professor, and she's expecting someone older, and that's where it's come from, I think.
And again, like once she sits down, like he kind of points out that most men are uncomfortable with like being surrounded by women who are more intelligent than them, because they both start to, because obviously she's into sociology, she's a professor who studies similar kind of stuff. They start basically talking shop in front of him. And he's just like,
and Debbie's like, he didn't even know this guy, or this one, or this one, and he just goes, "Oh God, what have I done?"
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like, she orders a drink, and it's kind of the end of the scene. But I think it's interesting that maybe that seed of doubt's there. Obviously, before she arrives, though, Holden does bring up some pretty heavy topics to just spring on your partner right before you're going to like. He brings up marriage and kids right before they're going to have company, and they can't talk about it. It's like the worst possible time.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of like at a normal point, but he asks about her parents. It's almost like he keeps having to relate what he's like studying to his real life, and like asking the people around him. Like
I think part of that is maybe he recognizes that he's similar to these killers, and he's worried, and he's trying to relate and going, right, how do I make sure I'm never like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's part. I think anyone who gets close to these people maybe starts to worry about that and starts to like,
I think it's natural, yeah.
yeah, like do I have dark desires inside me? Do I have?
Because the idea that these are still just people, and it's like, right, well, and they don't understand why they do these things. So if you don't understand what it is, how do you know that you're not like that?
Yeah, that's the thing, especially with Monty. He does feel relatively normal. Yeah, he's a bit of an asshole. He feels like a bit of a low life, but he's not.
It's the sort of guy you knew in school, though, isn't he?
Yeah, to an extent. Like, but you don't look at him and
He-
go, yeah, he's a serial rapist and murderer.
no, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
His actions have gone a bit further, but his overall demeanor and attitude, you go, yeah, I knew guys like him.
yeah, exactly. He doesn't seem that strange, and Ed has got that creepiness behind him. I think Bill talked about his dead eyes last episode, but he speaks very intellectually. He speaks very proper. It's like, I think there's almost an assumption, like for most people, being certainly before these kind of studies, where you assume anyone who's a serial killer is like got their tongue out and raving mad and
Yeah.
shouting at the
But,
moon.
but that's the thing with Ed. He's very detached. He can look at his own thing very logically.
Yeah, he's a bit of a sociopath. He can analyze himself separately from
Yeah.
himself. But yeah, so you got all that. So back to the case though. They go to the crime scene, this junkyard, and one of the cop assured them, this nervous cop assured them that they'd brought in this ironing board to to study for prints and DNA forensics, all that jazz. And they find it at the crime scene, still there with all the rubble. It's like, oh, there's the ironing board. I'm so sorry. And like, Bill tries to relax, like, oh, it's no need to apologise. We're all learning together. And like Holden just looks like he wants to kill the guy.
He is like, don't punch him. Don't punch him.
And it's funny because I think you actually expect Bill to be the hard ass, given how he is with Holden, but he understands that when he's talking to like regular cops that it's different because he's dealing with people who don't.
It's like talking to a child from their
Almost,
perspective.
yeah, but it almost sounds like an insult to say that. I think if you said that to one of these cops, like, oh, we need to talk to you like your kids, that
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
really offensive.
It would be, but it's the way Bill sort of treats them.
Yeah,
And Holden doesn't. He treats them as if they're on the same level as him, and the reality is they're not. I think they all know that. That's why the FBI exists. That's why they're called in as assistants on these things. They are above them in these regards, but I don't think Holden realizes that.
yeah. Again, above's maybe a demoralizing word to use. I would say they are experts in this particular field.
That's why I said in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're above
Like,
them in this.
They're experts in the sense that they study this particular thing which they don't typically have to deal with. Because like the guy says, he typically deals with underage kids drinking, simple petty theft, graffiti, normal everyday occurrences, and then one day this small town has this ridiculous crime, and
Yeah.
he's shocked and appalled that it could be a local that's done it, and he's convinced it's a drifter, and they eventually kind of land on it might be a drifter because of the way the crime is committed and the way that people talk about the victim, this Beverly character. But they're like, okay, who found the body? And they end up interviewing this guy who found the body, and like, oh, he's like, yeah, but he found the body. It couldn't be him. Why would they come to us? Not thinking that.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes
And these things that we've all been talking about, also have kind of added up to them going, yep, he could be it.
And honestly, like if I've killed someone, right? Yeah, I'll alleviate suspicion by being the one who says they found the body.
But see, that at the time, sure, but now that doesn't work.
Oh, no, sure, yeah. That said, I would still like. Well, not if I'd killed. What I'm saying is though, if I found a dead body, I would phone it in. I wouldn't not do it because I'd worried that. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't worry that I was guilty or they'd think I was guilty because I'd phoned it in.
Oh, definitely.
Because they'll investigate and
again, the idea that maybe they phone in their own cases kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the office of how the power fades because they've killed the only witness, and it's this idea that maybe they kind of want the police to know so that they have that.
They want the frenzy. They want everyone panicking and worrying that this has happened because it's like they've caused that. They've
not.
I mean,
not even
lives.
that. I think even once they're caught, because obviously Ed turned himself in, and it's just the idea that they want people to know that they're as powerful as they thought they were in that moment.
Oh, sure, no, eventually, but I think what I just said, though, I think that's part
Yeah,
of it,
yeah,
because
it is, yeah.
especially if, because I don't think they intend to get caught the whole time. Like, I think Ed eventually decided, yeah, I want to get caught, and he made that choice at one point.
Yeah.
But I think there was a point before that where, yeah, maybe they called their own crime because, you see what it's like when there's a big profile murder case, and you have the press show up, and you have like the town's all panicking, and like the idea that you've caused all this chaos, that you've changed
Yeah,
everyone's lives.
again, it adds to that power, doesn't it?
The powers, it's not even just one instance, like it's spread out, it's like feeding off and like chaining them out amongst people.
And does it last longer because you've no longer killed the one witness? Everyone in the town is then a witness to this idea that this has happened, and you know it's you.
Yeah, because I think in Ed's case, like the girls were just reported missing, like they never found bodies.
Yeah,
So that was very sort of discreet by comparison, whereas this is like, no, they've found a body, they know she's dead, and the fear is greater almost because of that. So the power that the killer has, or feels it anyway, it feels bigger.
yes.
So no, that's fascinating stuff. So they talk to the guy, and they kind of poke some holes in his story. It's like, yeah, you're walking your dog, but you wouldn't see that from there. Why are you down here? Like, he sort of tries to like fill it in. And then they talk to his wife, and we hear that he was actually like he flirted with this girl. He did ask her out for drinks,
Which we knew anyway. Like he'd already said, yeah, he'd asked her out a few times.
yeah, multiple times, yeah. Which again, he's hesitant to say each thing. He's like, okay, I might have asked her out. He's like, oh, how many times? A few times. What, on one night, or
On multiple occasions, because I guess it would be multiple times.
yeah, like he wouldn't just know that information. Like that's not something you have to think about. You would know that it was multiple times. It was multiple, over months or whatever. Like, it's obvious, but he's hesitant. He thinks everything he's saying is making him sound guilty.
Well, but that's because it is. And I think even if he is innocent, he kind of is aware that no, this sounds incriminating. I called this in, so and it's this idea that I did know her and she spurned my advances. I think he's smart enough to see that this sounds bad, so he tries to cover it.
And they bring the wife in. The wife is like, "Oh, I knew he'd done this. Like, he kind of goes fishing. There's no harm in it. He's never actually done anything. I mean, as far as she knows, anyway."
Yeah, but I didn't want her in the house.
Of course, yeah. That was the thing. They were going to hire her. She was going to be the nanny for their kid.
Yeah.
Again, bringing the idea of parents and kids into the mix seems to be a recurring theme that keeps popping up into these cases in some capacity. And that's the other thing, actually, talking about Bill's like troubled life right now. Is at one point he's like, no, this wasn't a married man who did this, because the mutilation all happened after she was killed. She was killed and then she was mutilated, and he basically goes in this little monologue about how no, a married man, like the resentment builds. It's all these little cuts. If this was a married man, he'd have tortured her first and then killed her. And like the cop and Holden are just kind of looking at each other like, how's your marriage?
Do you want to tell us something, Bill?
How's your marriage, Bill? You feeling stressed? Things rough at home?
Yeah.
But but I think that's interesting that the one married guy in the car is the one who has that opinion that if he's married, this would have been worse, or worse is debatable, but it would have been before death.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean that is worse.
It's worse for the victim, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think for everyone else, it's just as horrific either way.
I think for other people that's maybe more understandable because it's torture. It's like you can. I think we can understand. I get why you do that. You want to see them in pain. I think that's understandable to most people. Whereas
doing something to a dead body after the fact
what's
is weirder.
Purpose? What do you gain from that?
Yes, exactly. Like it's less. I mean, it's traumatic for the victim, but anyway, but it's less traumatic for the if they don't have to live through either the torture or the rape or whatever the person's going to do. But it is undoubtedly creepier if it's after, even though they didn't have to suffer it.
It's just easier to understand if they're doing this to someone that's alive.
Yeah, which again kind of feeds into the whole premise of the show, is that it's not comfortable to try and understand why they do this.
Yeah, definitely.
You understand on a base level why someone would want to rape someone and then kill them, but the idea that they want to do it after they kill them is like, whoa, this is getting really I'm uncomfortable now, and that's kind of what the reaction to everyone is in this show. Is like, definitely. Oh no, you're looking into these dark areas, we don't want to talk about that, blah blah. So it's left unanswered, and they have some theories that maybe it is a drifter, and they're like, okay, he's kind of got an alibi, that the details that they don't have a solvable crime. They say keep in touch, let us know if there's any advancements, and I think we will come back to this, but
I think we will, yeah.
So during the episode, Wendy at one point made a little offhand comment. Oh, you need to do this more. You need to spend more time in this, full time. This is not going to work. I mean, at first she also says she doesn't even want them working cases, and they're like, no, we want to work cases. And honestly, I think that's something where she'll learn the benefit of, because actually applying what they're
it's
talking
field
about.
application, isn't it?
Yeah, because they've already used it to catch someone. The idea they can actually, it's almost like they're proving the worth of it as they're going, because they're actually using it.
I think it looks better. Once they publish this as an academic study or as a book, it's like, no, we have proof this works. We have applied these throughout the study and seen tangible benefits.
Yeah. Even if it's like a 70% success rate.
Yeah.
60%, that's 60% more than these weirdos you were catching before.
Right, exactly. No matter what, any success rate looks good.
Exactly. So, but at the end of the episode, again, they've got a meeting and they're all called up to the Shepard's office. They're all called up there for something, and they go up and they're quiet the entire time. They're like, "Oh, what's going on?
They're like, oh, he's never called us up there for a good thing. So what are we getting bollocked for now?
And of course, Wendy during the episode, just offhandedly when she brought this up, I've got some contacts. I'll make some calls and see if I can sort this out. And they get called into the office, and they come in, and he's like, right, everyone sit down. And he goes in a little speech about what his job's supposed to be. That he's actually there to protect them rather than just grill them for shit. He's there to actually, sort of guide them through things. And he basically says that he went to go pitch some ideas to people, to whoever funds them.
Some grants.
Apply for grants, all that kind of thing. And to his shock, the people he talked to knew more about the what he was going to apply for than he did before he applied. And he's like, so someone, and Wendy owns it. I was like, oh, that's my bad. I kind of spoke to some people and put in some words. And she owns up to it. And he's actually pissed because, not to spoil the funny moment that I'm about to get to, but he's actually pissed because now they expect more because you've already hinted at what the results could be. Whereas he would have been a bit more vague, and that would have had less scrutiny because it would have been maybe less money. But because he's grilling them, and then he just comes out with, "You've been awarded $200,000." And I don't think I've laughed, because this is something we said in the last couple episodes, is that this show has surprisingly some funny moments just sort of sprinkled in. And this really made me, I was pissing myself laughing after that comment, because they're all just kind of looking at each other like, what? And he's like, yeah, and not only that, then this other grant is giving you another 180,000. So that's,
This other one is a rival to this one that they give it, and they were like, well, we can't let them do that, so we're giving you 185. So we're still close.
Yeah, so they're close to 400 grand at this point. They're getting funded, and he's like, yeah, but now you're going to be under scrutiny. Now the White House itself is going to be keeping an eye on you because they think this is important, and this is why you're getting so much money. Whereas had you let me not be sidelined like that, had you let me not be caught by surprise, I could have sold it as a bit more of a potential thing, and you would have been a bit more free to do what you're doing. Whereas now you've
got to do this full time.
Yeah, so in his own way, he was trying to protect them. He was trying to protect the how controlled they were, how much they were under the microscope. He was trying to give them freedom, and because of what they've done now,
it was the freedom, wasn't it? Because before it's like, okay, it's vague, you kind of do what you want, and okay, if a little bit of money goes missing, it's not the end of the world. But here it's like, okay, you got 400 grand. People are watching this. People are paying attention.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know what happens with this money. They want to see results.
Now there's pressure. Now there's not exact deadlines, but there's expectations. There's people saying, oh, have you got anything to show us yet? Time's ticking. We give you money.
They are now beholden to the investors.
That said, so that was funny. That was hilarious. And then he's like, yeah, so, congratulations, I guess. That's the exact words. Congratulations, I guess. And then the final shot is they just get in the elevator and they're just standing there in silence. None of them are looking at each other. They're all looking forward. And they're just all kind of like, oh, we just got into trouble. It lasts for a good, 15... And I knew it was going to happen. I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
And then slowly, at the exact same time, all three of them just get a smirk in their face.
Yeah. Pretty much. Just like, okay, we're doing this now.
Joe, I think's really funny is that this has established a trend where the even-numbered episodes have really good endings, but the odd-numbered episodes have endings that don't really feel like endings. Because 1 and 3 both had these sort of they just kind of felt like it ended, whereas 2 and 4 they both feel like no, it's just a climactic moment where now we've achieved something. And they both had
big moments in the elevators at the end.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, the second one went a bit further.
It went a little bit further, but the big moment was in the elevator.
That's true. But no, and that's the one thing I liked is actually on the way up, it actually lingered on like them going up, and you could see that they've not went up all these floors in a while, like because they're going all the way up to the top floor.
Yeah. And then there's the uncomfortable, like, of why are we being summoned?
Again, because they're quiet the entire time, but we see the entire walk to the, then the receptionist, or not, his secretary, sort of like signaling them in, knocking the door, wait for the response. All of it. It was all suspense. It was all building to what the hell what was he going to grill us for? And then he does grill them, and then he just drops halfway in the sentence, "Oh, you've been awarded $200,000."
Yeah.
And then
goes well for them.
And then again, Holden and Bill looking at each other with that shock in their face. And now Wendy's kind of involved. She's completed the trio of the way.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're closer because they go out in the field together. They go and do the actual interviews and things. That said, I can see her going with them at some point.
I think she'll want to see how it works.
Yeah.
She'll get fascinated and be like, I need to see this for myself.
And I think it'll be strategic because she'll say, well, what happens when one of the interviewers is a woman? Given what these killers, their attitudes and the way they respond and the way they talk about women.
Okay.
Because putting her in there will have an effect. So I think that'll be something like, if they don't decide to do it because of that, it'll at least be something they consider. They'll say, this might change how we get a conversation out of them. This might change the responses.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Especially with people like even Ed, where he's uncomfortable around women. That's kind of what caused all this. Does putting her in there, does it put him on edge? Does it make him off guard so they can catch him out on things? Or does it make him close up?
Yeah. Does he try and prove that it doesn't bother him, and then he slips up that way?
Yeah, that's it. It's all about figuring out which way they're going to play it.
But it's interesting. And I think it's funny how both Ed and Monty, just to compare them a little bit again, like we've talked a lot about their differences and their different crimes and personalities, but just a little touch that was kind of similar, but in their own way between them, is the way they both kind of treated the tape recorder. Ed kind of like he made a comment. He was like, "Oh, did you get that on tape? Did you make sure?" Like because it was a new thing. Because up until this point he'd just been taking notes. He made a point of pointing it out and like acknowledging it was there to say, "I know you're recording this now. This is escalated." And then Monty does two things. One, he actually leans into the mic at one point to make sure, like he's grabbing the mic at a concert to like do the important part.
He wants to be heard. He wants to make sure they've got this.
But almost in a mocking way, he leans in to mock them. Like, make sure you hear this, you assholes. Like, but he also at one point like Holden starts taking notes. He's like, "You're recording it. Why are you taking notes?"
Yeah. I do wonder if at some point they'll have to go without the recorder, because it's like, do you know what? I'm happy to talk to you guys, but I don't want to talk. Oh, I don't want this to be talked to everyone. It's like, you can take his notes and they can transcribe, but it's not the same as anyone can hear this.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being a thing that pops up. But I think what's been fascinating so far, we've had two killers they've interviewed, and they've both been very different, but there's some similarities there. And I think okay, when we get a third one, like how do they shake that formula up? Like how are they different? What did they do differently? Did they have different victims? Do we get a female killer at some point, if there is any at this time period? I mean, I assume there must be some. But
when do we get Manson?
When do we get Manson? Yeah, that's a good question. Is that the season finale?
This is the thing now. They've got money.
Yeah,
they've got legitimacy that maybe they could actually get in now.
Yeah, maybe not quite yet. Maybe it's like they catch a few more people, they've interviewed a few more, they show some results, and then the finale, the build-up's like, now we get Manson.
Yeah, but there's legitimate. Before they couldn't, because it's like, well, who are you guys? Why are you going to get in there? But now it's like, they can get approved. They've got powerful people now. It's like, we can get in.
Also, I bet we go back to that one from last episode they couldn't get into.
Yeah.
They get turned away because of the advance notice.
Well, yeah, but now because they can kind of do this full time, so to speak. It's like, well, yeah, we can go and do that.
Yeah. I wonder how much that full time, like I feel like they might still be doing the other stuff though, because it gets them around these locations.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't teach the classes, but maybe they'll still go and visit the local precincts when they're in the area, because I feel like we still have to get some actual crimes.
Maybe they'll just cut down on the classes. Like instead of doing 3 a week, you'll do 1 and spend the rest of your time in the area with the killer that you're there for. But you'll still do 1 while you're over there.
I mean, I'm assuming Holden won't be teaching classes back at Quantico anymore like he was.
That's true.
I imagine that'll be gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, because I just feel like we still have. Maybe it's just a case of they inform or they just go and check. They go to the local police. Is there any cases you'd like a hand with? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But then again, I kind of like the idea of them like making fun of the cops and like, oh, he's nervous. He's working up the nerve to come and talk to us. That was a really funny scene.
It was.
Because it was like a guy like working up the nerve to ask out a girl, but it was in this case it was like going up to the FBI agent. Yeah, can you help me with this really, deranged case that we've got?
It was a nice touch.
But no. And one final thing I want to mention, which wasn't even in this episode, I don't think, but I've wanted to mention it in episodes 2 and 3, and I've forgotten both times. I really like the main little theme that plays when something intriguing happens. It's like this little very high pitched string.
Yeah, I know the one you're on about with the filter on it.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's swinging back and forth. It sounds like you can almost see a pendulum in your head making the music. Yeah.
It sounds to me like it's played on the other side of the bridge. So like on a string instrument, you got the bridge that holds up the strings. And normally you play on one side. It sounds to me like they're playing on the inside, so to speak.
It's got that almost not the exact same, but kind of like in a guitar you have harmonics where you sort of over the fret you get that little high pitched version of the note. Yeah.
That's the effect that it sounds like to me.
I translated that for myself because I played guitar in high school, so I understand that better than
as a violinist.
You're just. Yeah, here's a question, just a random off-topic thing about violins and cellos and other stringed instruments. How do you learn without the frets? How do you hit your notes? I feel like you're just
when you learn and you start out younger, you put stickers on. Like, right, okay. So you just for like 2 fingers, because obviously you don't move that much at first until you're more advanced. You don't move further down. So you typically stay just up at the top. So you put a finger, one where your first finger would go, one where your third finger would go, and then you just use 2 and 4 around those.
It's one of those things for on guitar. Like for me, it's all about math. Like I just
Yeah. Because typically your first and third stay. They don't move very much because of what the notes are. At first, and then your second finger moves between them, like depending on if it's a sharp or a natural or a flat, will be closer to one finger or the other, so that one doesn't get a sticker.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just curious. That's how you do it, and then obviously once you do it enough, you just go, well, I don't need those anymore. You just know where your hand goes.
Because obviously your brass and your woodwinds, like you have all your holes for those, so that's
holes or buttons, keys.
Or buttons, yeah. So there's obviously a button's just that thing, or a combination of said things, or whatever. But anyway, that was just a bizarre tangent to end on. But that is episode 4 of Mindhunter. It is going strong, and I think, again, it says how much I'm enjoying the characters, that when we get to that final moment and they're in the elevator and they all smirk, I'm kind of smirking along with them. I'm like, yeah, it's time.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mildfuzztv. You can do that over there. Throw in $1 or $2 to help us out. Maybe not 200,000. No, that'll turn it down, admittedly, if you want to.
If you're offering.
Yeah, if you can afford it, I could use a boat. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. We'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?